Just 2 days away, Dave, from the NHL trade deadline. Our coverage here on the fourth period brought to you, as always, by Betway. Now, I want to start things in the Windy City in Chicago, and you have a little update for us, don't you?
Yeah, earlier today I wrote about both Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat as two guys that a lot of teams are asking about and have been asking about in the last little while. My understanding is that it's going to take a ridiculous offer to move either of these two players. DeBrincat knows it, Kane knows it, but with Patrick Kane, from what I'm hearing from inside the room, he's been telling teammates that he's not yet ready to move. Now, whether that changes in these next 2 days or whether that changes in the offseason, we'll obviously wait and see. But I was told to pump the brakes a little bit on what's going on with Patrick Kane, as it sounds like he's just not prepared yet for the possibility of changing teams. And that is certainly going to affect a few clubs that have zeroed in on him, or at least inquired and tried to change that mindset. Colorado and the Rangers being two of those teams.
It's funny you said the Rangers. What's up in New York?
Well, there are some interesting things that are coming out of the Big Apple here, and I'm sure this is going to thrill a lot of Ranger fans. But one player that they are dangling right now, from what I'm being told, is, and I'm going to preface this by saying it is going to take a significant deal for this to happen. But my understanding is they have made Alexis Lafreniere available if they bring in a top flight talent in return that is controllable, that has term on his contract. So they're not just going to move Lafreniere for the sake of it. It's got to be a significant, we're talking blockbuster type of deal. But if he goes, it's to bring in somebody that is controllable, that is signed, that is relatively young, and with a solid cap hit to go along with it. There's a little bit of concern down the road, not necessarily a big issue at the moment, but in a few years, the salary cap is going to be an issue for the New York Rangers with both him and Keandre Miller in 2 seasons needing new deals. That's something to look out for here in the next couple of days to see if the Rangers can pull something big off ahead of the deadline.
It's not just Lafreniere. It's former number one overall pick, Lafreniere, that we're talking about here. Now,
Yes, it
from,
is.
from New York, let's go to Winnipeg and the latest with the Jets, Dave.
Yeah, it sounds like the Winnipeg Jets are embracing the fact that it's just going to take a little bit too much to get into the postseason. They're not bailing on the season, but they are now taking those calls with respect to Paul Stastny, Andrew Kopp, and a few other players on the Jets. Seems like they're embracing the sell. Those are two guys that are UFAs at the end of the season. Kopp generating a ton of interest. He's got a $3.5 million cap hit. And there are a lot of teams that would love to get their hands on this particular player. Now, the return from Chicago, from Tampa, for Brendan Hagel might have maybe changed things a little bit in terms of Winnipeg's willingness, but he is a UFA at the end of the year, so the price tag is certainly going to be different.
Yeah, and then when you look at a couple other teams in their division, what's the latest with the Nashville Predators and Dallas Stars?
Yeah, these are two teams that are looking for defensemen right now. Dallas putting Andre Sekera on waivers the other day. He cleared it. Looks like they might be trying to utilize that if he does get sent down, clear his $1.5 million cap hit to bring in another defenseman. And earlier today, Nashville putting Philippe Myers on waivers. That surprised a lot of people in that locker room. And they have a ton of cap space. So it might just be clearing out a body and also clearing out some actual hard money in order to go after another defenseman. It sounds like Nashville's looking to add to their blue line.
David, thank you so much for this. We're starting to see a little bit more action with a few NHL GMs, so we'll see what happens. Again, just 2 days away from the NHL trade deadline, and our coverage here on the fourth period brought to you by Betway.